Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the 2024 presidential election, President Biden facing former President Donald Trump, and an ultimate rematch come November of this year. We're going to be talking about who is best fit to win this election as of the day that I'm filming this, and that's April 5th of 2024. We're going to be looking at who is best fit, just kind of based off of what we're seeing in polling here lately and where we think the race stands as of now. Obviously, for the case of this, I'm not putting Robert F. Kennedy in the standing on the map, but ultimately we are going to be looking at that with that factor in mind. So I'm going to start by characterizing states that I believe are going to go to Biden pretty solidly. These states have been Democratic pretty strongholds for the past few election cycles, and everything leads me to believe that that will happen yet again. And ultimately, when we look at states like these, it's just ultimately going to give us a general idea of where we stand with the races in these solid red states and blue states, and then kind of going based off of that on who could win the key battleground states that are really going to make or break this election. So ultimately, as you can tell already, we already have 221 electoral votes for Biden, and I'm still characterizing some for Trump at the moment, and we can assume there is some sort of rumor going around that the Nebraska congressional district electorate, the way that they perform their presidential elections and giving electoral votes depending on the congressional district, we are hearing that may or may not change by November. Ultimately, if that does, then we'll have to look at that as well. But as of now, I'm characterizing it because it seems to be that Biden will win that one district there in Nebraska. But ultimately, I'm also going to give Trump Ohio and Texas. I know some could argue that these states are battleground states, but ultimately in this election cycle, I just do not believe that, and I don't believe that they're worth characterizing and looking at and taking significant amounts of time to discuss those states. I believe that they could flip to the Democrats within the next few election cycles, but I don't believe 2024 is that year for Biden to be able to flip it, especially with his incumbency and also just the way that everybody characterizes Biden here lately. He lost them in 2020, and my guess is that this election is going to be much closer than 2020. I don't believe that Texas or Ohio, either way, or even Florida, have a chance of going to Biden in this election, at least as it stands now. I'm also going to characterize the state of North Carolina for Donald Trump. I know this could be controversial, as North Carolina was one of the closer states that went to Donald Trump in 2020. But ultimately, like I said again, I believe that this election is going to be much closer than 2020 on the scale of Trump is going to perform a little bit better. And ultimately, I think he will win North Carolina pretty steadily. With that being said, I also do believe that Biden will win the state of Michigan. As of now, as it stands, in my personal opinion, I just believe that Michigan in 2020 was ultimately a state that we could look at in retrospect to see that Biden ultimately won the state of Michigan, in the key battleground states at least, by a pretty solid margin. Obviously, nothing crazy, no 10 points or anything like that, but he did win it by the most of the key battleground states. If you look at Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, even North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan was one of those states. One state that I am going to characterize for Trump that will be a Trump flip from 2020 is going to be the state of Nevada. I think that the Republican Party is putting a lot of effort into Nevada, and I believe that it's going to pay off in the end for them. I believe that Nevada ultimately will go to President Trump in this election cycle. I believe that he is preparing himself to be able to win that race in Nevada. And sure, it's only 6 electoral votes, but those 6 electoral votes could come to show that ultimately Trump wins that by wins the presidency because of Nevada. At the end of the day, he only needs 270, and those 6 electoral votes could help in a match close, similar to what we expect to happen in 2024. I'm sorry. With that being said, I'm also going to characterize the state of Georgia for President Trump. I believe that the state of Georgia is going to be pretty solid for President Trump. I think it's going to be a much closer state than some others. But I do believe at the end of the day that President Trump will win the state of Georgia. It's 16 electoral votes, I believe, just are going to go to President Trump based off of what we've seen in latest polling. And I think it's also his best shot at flipping this state as well. In states that he lost in 2020, I believe that that's one state that he can flip pretty easily if he does perform well and campaigns in a correct strategy that works for his campaign. With that being said, I'm going to characterize New Hampshire for President Biden. Ultimately, I should have characterized this earlier, but ultimately I forgot. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and give New Hampshire to President Biden. That gives him 241. President Trump is at 257. And ultimately, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are the ones left. And I believe these three are going to be the closest states that we see in this upcoming election cycle between President Biden and former President Trump. With that being said, I do believe that the state of Wisconsin is going to go to President Trump. I know some polling suggests that Michigan has a better chance of flipping to Trump than Wisconsin does, but I do not believe that personally. I believe that Wisconsin it was close in 2020, and I believe that it's another one of Trump's best shots at retaining the White House is a flip in Wisconsin. In Georgia and obviously Nevada are going to help him flip those three states alone, but I think Wisconsin is going to be another one that Trump flips pretty easily. With that being said, I do think that President Biden will win Pennsylvania. I think his campaign will put a lot of money and strategy into Pennsylvania, just as they did in 2020, and I believe ultimately that could pay off to help him at the end. I believe that those 19 electoral votes just will go to President Biden at the end of the day. He won the state by a close margin in 2020, yes, but I believe that his campaign put a lot of money in it in 2020, and I have no doubt that they will do the same in 2024. With that being said, the last state that I have to characterize is Arizona. And while this state has been flipping towards the Democrats in latest elections, even looking back at 2022 when Katie Hobbs retained the governorship, well, not retained, took control of the governorship and made that a Democratic gain for the governorship in Arizona. When Kari Lake was expected to win that, Kari Lake ultimately will face off in the Senate race in Arizona in this election cycle. But I just believe that this state has become much closer than anybody has expected in latest election cycles. But with the characterization and the way that the race looks at this point, I believe that this state will go to President Trump. This puts him at 278 electoral votes to Biden's 260. And ultimately, I just believe this because of what we're seeing with inflation and just things that the Trump campaign is pushing and in trying to get Biden voters over to their side, independent voters, suburban women, in particularly to their side, and I believe that's going to pay off to help President Trump in the end to be reelected to a non-consecutive term. Obviously, we have multiple months until this election cycle happens, so anything can happen from here and then, and obviously, even if the election was to happen today, this very well could be a wrong prediction. It's just personally what I believe would happen as of today, April 5th of 2024. And like I said, again, we do have multiple months away from this election, so anything can happen within the next few months and come closer to the race. September and October into November are going to be those key time frames where we really start to see things shifting, and where the race will stand then is what will ultimately probably end up happening. So as of today, I believe that President Trump would win 278 electoral votes to President Biden's 260, defeating the incumbent president, President Biden. President Trump would be reelected to a non-consecutive term. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to try to be filming more videos as we get closer to the 2024 election cycle. I'm going to also be looking at filming some potential 2028 matchups, just because filming 2024 matchups of President Biden and President Trump all over again every single day could just become I obviously boring to some viewers. So I am going to try and get some 2028 matchup videos and some other videos along the way going into this election cycle. So I hope that you all will stick around. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think of those key battleground states: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Let me know what you all think and how they will turn out in the 2024 presidential election. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will have another video for you all soon.